executive action table led by the local health integration network. We have a Health Links action table ensuring wraparound medical care for clients within our community. We have a mental health and addictions committee led by CAMHS and NGH in relation to, obviously, addictions and mental health. We have a harm reduction committee that promotes and raises awareness of opioid-related harms in Haldimand, Norfolk with a harm reduction approach led by the Haldimand, Norfolk Health Unit. Project Lifesaver, which is a community policing-led initiative. We have a mobile crisis rapid response team, again led by CAMHS, which partners an officer with a mental health professional to respond to persons in crisis with a timely and appropriate crisis intervention. We have crisis assessment and support team, which links individuals during and following a crisis with the necessary community resources and support systems, including peer support, to prevent further crisis, also led by CAMHS. Our community has a situation table where we try to identify persons of acutely elevated risk within our community for immediate intervention. We've dedicated, through the OPP, a dedicated OPP community mobilization officer that is dedicated to mobilizing and engaging the community. We run a Citizens Police Academy. We have an auxiliary unit that's dedicated over 5,400 volunteer hours for 2017. 1,000 of those hours were specifically for community policing events. In media and operationally, we've released just shy of 1,200 media releases in 2017 to try to alert the public and keep everybody aware of what our actions and the activities within Norfolk County. In 2017 alone, our street crimes unit laid over 480 criminal and controlled drugs and substance act charges and executed over 30 warrants. In 2017, we were also able to have 76 directed patrol and focused patrol initiatives in crime and traffic. I cannot say enough about the existing cooperation of community support services and the impact these joint initiatives have on public safety. I certainly look forward to our progress in all of our partnerships and thank everyone for welcoming the OPP at the action tables and as a community partner. In conclusion, thank you for the opportunity to speak with all of you today. I believe with the development of new community safety and well-being frameworks within Ontario, it will foster this conversation that I've brought to you today. Under this framework, the ministry will require communities to create local community and well-being plans that address local needs based on local risk factors. I truly believe Norfolk County is very well positioned currently to both identify those local risks and address the local needs. These conversations are what will make us stronger as a community as long as we listen to each other, understand we are all accountable, and work together in our common goal of community safety. I thank you.
Thank you, Inspector Anderson. I'm going to ask you, we're not letting you off that easy yet. Anyway, there's a lot of important information that you've shared with Council regarding Norfolk County facts. If you could, two things, if you could introduce your other persons with you. Okay.
Absolutely, yep. We have, who's soon to be Inspector Joe Varga, who's going to be taking over Detachment Command for Norfolk County. And we have Acting Staff Sergeant Ange Ferguson. I've introduced Susan Taylor and Nancy Candy Harding at the beginning. And we have Ed Sanchuk at the back, who everybody knows Ed, and he is our Community Relations Officer for Norfolk County.
Thank you for that. And if you could provide the clerk with your presentation, would be great.
Certainly.
I think it's a lot of information to gather all at once in a short 12 minutes. But if we could all get a copy of that after, would be great to read it sometime before we go to bed. Okay. And I'm going to open the floor for questions, and Councillor Black's first.
Yeah, everybody knows Ed because of his ability to sing. He's one heck of a good singer.
That means you haven't seen him dance either, though.
See him dance. Yeah, and I am very happy to see Joe Varga as our new inspector, and excellent presentation. I was on the Police Services Board for a while. We started to initiate the partnership between the community, the OPP officer and the mental health provider. And I thought that was an excellent initiative. And I have seen how, just in my short life, how things have changed and gone from different priorities to the way it is now. And I'm wondering, and I'll be interested, just like Chairman Columbus said, to look at your presentation and be able to read it and kind of sift through where the problems are. And I don't know if you've done a companion paper that goes with this, a list of suggestions of what Norfolk County could do to help and sort of connect the dots between what you've presented here and what we could possibly do, or other partners could do, whether it's the BIA or chamber or whoever it may be, or the hospital, whatever. Maybe that's more work for you, but it would be interesting to me to see this companion document that says, here's what I said, here's what another partnership that we could establish that would address these social concerns and allow you to do more of the real police work rather than the social work. I don't know if you've got something like that, or if you thought of doing something like that.
I certainly don't have anything for you in hard copy, but I can speak to that now. So a lot of the reasonings for coming here and initiating that is that with the new changes to the Police Service Act, we will be seeing the responsibility for community safety plans coming to the communities to draft instead of seeing police action plans. So what this really is more so for me coming to you because I believe there was some appetite in asking the government to just follow the police action plan and not to do a community safety plan. So this is more my plea to everyone here to perhaps take where we think the future of policing and community safety is going and just take that for food for thought forward when the PSA does change and we are looking at drafting community safety plans that will be specific to our community and not just policing.
That sounds good. Great. Thank you very much.
Over to Councillor Wells.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I do not have a question. However, I would like to offer you congratulations on your new posting, and I hope that things go very well here, and we are looking forward to working with you. And thank you very much for being here with this wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Height.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Inspector Anderson. You mentioned in your presentation about community engagement, and I really wanted to thank you for the community engagement you've shown in my area as well as Norfolk County. The tea with the OPP was a great success. I know your staff have met with them many times at meetings for the Cottage Watch and Neighborhood Watch, and it's very effective. It's a great way to build that relationship and trust. And I know in town a lot of people are a lot happier with having that open door policy and to help things to get cleaned up in that. And I definitely wanted to thank you and your staff for that. Now, did I hear you correctly saying Norfolk is the highest opioid use in the province?
Highest prescribed opioid users in the province.
So, subscriptions, like
Prescription use.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Now, so municipalities fund the OPP, but the province doesn't, is that correct? I'm not sure on the funding model.
It's a dual model, a dual purpose.
So do they fund you as well?
The province itself? Yeah,
Yeah.
there's provincial funding, yes.
Do they, and so do they offer you stuff to deal with this? Because a lot of what you've said here is like special needs and mental health. Do they offer funding for that? Because they are the ones in charge of healthcare. Shouldn't they be training your staff and paying for that extra stuff?
Well, again, I would revert back to the fact that it's not just a police issue.
No.
Right? So the provincial government and all of its ministries have its onus for dealing with the issues. And our community partners and social service agencies are quite honestly, knowing the different programs across the province, are very progressive, very aggressive at grants. The different teams that we have, MCERT, the CAS team, different teams that we're looking at putting through in the future is all government and provincial funding. It doesn't necessarily come through an OPP budget, but it's a provincial funding.
Okay, thank you. So, just so I'm clear, so an officer goes through training and things like that, but now that you've seen such a big shift, are they trained to handle this, or is that why you work with our health services?
No, our officers, the difference is between the purposes for law enforcement and the needs of the actual people we're dealing with. Law enforcement, we're here to enforce laws, keep the peace, emergency response, public order, and assistance to victims of crime. We cannot provide counseling services. We can't provide a lot of services that our people need in our community to become healthy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I would say to council, first of all, Inspector Anderson made the same very good presentation to our Police Service Board recently, as she hinted at. And unfortunately, we're all hearing her message loud and clear, and that is that we can't just sit back and assume the OPB is going to take care of all this. We're going to have to, as a community, step up. So my simple question, Inspector, is within your network, are you aware of any of our neighboring communities, Oxford, Elgin, Brant, Brantford, Haldeman, Middlesex perhaps, who are further ahead than us in terms of this new community safety plan initiative? Or will we be sort of taking the lead if we start it within the next 6 months based on this initial discussion?
You know, and I'll have to apologize because I believe at one of the last Police Service Board meetings I said I would look into that provincially, and I haven't done that. But I think what a lot of communities are waiting for is that change under the Police Service Act. Having said that, I am told by our community safety services that there are certain communities that are anticipating it, and knowing that it's a good direction to go in, whether the legislation changes or not. And there are draft community plans that are out there, but I don't think they will be very voluminous. There won't be a large amount of them yet to date.
And this isn't a cop-out question, but I'll ask it anyways. What is the expected timing in terms of the changes to the Police Service Act that will, if you like, either encourage or mandate the community safety plans that you referred to?
I think we would all like to know that answer. I think with the changing government, the provincial government, that will perhaps impact not only the legislation but the timing. So I really wouldn't even be in a position to even guess when those changes will actually be enforceable. And the section they're at right now is just drafting the document itself, but they still have, after that stage, all the regulations to draft. I think the first thing you'll be seeing come forward in the changes in the Police Services Act are the civilian oversight legislations with SIU and OIPRD and things like that.
Your point is that we shouldn't wait for the legislation to tell us to do it. It's something that communities should be initiating just because it's the best approach.
And even if it's just conversations, yeah, it's really a culture of moving away from the police responding to the call and the police dealing with it. And so many of us, I don't think there'd be anybody in this room that's family has not been touched by some point with mental health or addiction issues. So it's certainly community safety-wise, it's relevant to everyone, and it's certainly something that's we can all take part in. That the efforts are already being made. It's just a matter of coming together and actually putting them down and picking what Norfolk County as a whole wants to focus on and what our overreaching goals are for public safety for all of our individual components.
Okay, anything further? Yes, Councillor Sonberg.
Thank you for your presentation. We're all aware of the new cannabis laws coming into effect shortly. And with legalization, I'm sure the OPP are looking forward to less criminal activity. But with increased availability, they're also probably aware of increased usage and abuse of cannabis. I just wonder what your thoughts or insights are onto this new thing that's coming to Norfolk County, Ontario, and the world, actually.
I think you'd have to give me about a day to speak to council about that. In my, call it my past life, before I came here to Norfolk County, I was the traffic and marine manager for West Region. So I was quite engaged with provincial traffic operations as well as the provincial government with the changes that are coming through with the legislation. Since I've been here, I've been a bit removed from that. But it is certainly something that's of concern, and the OPP is directly engaged with the ministry and providing our recommendations, not only for traffic safety, but the issues, a lot of the issues that we have here are around more bylaw, odor, residence grows, things like that, and all the way to organized crime. So each facet within the OPP is directly reporting to the ministry with their recommendations. It'll just be a matter of how loud our voice is, I think, with those recommendations. But I would certainly not want to speak for all police, but I don't think there's any of us that are looking forward to that legislation change.
Okay, anybody else? I've got one question that's similar to Councillor Sonnenberg's. You know, we hear every week or two that there's been a drug bust in the area. Some of these are pretty hard drugs. And I just wonder if you know, does the introduction of cannabis, like countrywide, do you think it enhances the movement towards harder drugs?
I might pull a court response in relation to this because I'm certainly not an expert. And I don't even think I would be in a position to give you an opinion. There's so many different trains of thought in relation to that, and I think there'd be many more people that would be able to provide this group with a much more professional opinion. My big concerns are in our community with, as you hear within the media, of police being ready. We're ready, we're just waiting for the tools to be provided to us and the training to be provided to be able to deal with the issue and do the job. Legislations are already there for us for impaired by drugs and for CDSA, Controlled Drugs and Substances Act investigations. So it's fairly a business as usual for us with that. But we also look upon our partners within the U.S. and different places that have already legalized, and we're certainly heeding their warnings.
Thank you. Nothing further. I thank you very much, Inspector Anderson, for your presentation. It was very great. And if you could leave a copy with the clerk here, would be great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again. I need a mover and a seconder to receive the presentation. Councillor Height moves it, and Mayor Luke seconds it. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We will now move to Mr. Ken Person, who is going to provide us with his deputation on trail expansion. Mr. Person is president of the Norfolk County All-Terrain Vehicle Club. You've got 10 minutes, Ken?
I think I only need 5. Chairman Columbus, members of council, Mayor Luke, and Norfolk County staff. My name is Ken Person, and I am the president of the Norfolk County ATV Club. We're one club of 17 under the umbrella of OFATV, that's the Ontario Federation of All-Terrain Vehicles. In December of 2013, I stood before council on behalf of the Norfolk County ATV Club to request a pilot project that included access to some Norfolk County roads. Our membership at that time stood at 15 members. Today, partly because of the council's decision to allow us this access, our membership has grown to 130 members today. Our track record speaks for itself, with 0 complaints and no problems. The reason for my presence today is to request additional road access to improve our trail system, to link some trails, and to simplify the process with Norfolk County so that we don't have to get special permission every time we hold an event or we have a fundraising ride. On May 30th of 2017, I met with Mark Boerkamp and Sean Vanacker of Norfolk County on site at the new road access proposals, and we also visited some existing ones. I wanted to show them that the approved use of these roads over the past few years has not caused any damage to them in any way. In order to complete our due diligence, our club has distributed an information letter to all adjacent landowners bordering our new proposed route. A sample letter of that has been provided in your package. We have 3 areas that we would like to add to our existing access. First, from First Concession Road, south of Highway 3, from the Dead End Road, west to Schaefer Side Road, then south to the bend where it changes to Second Concession Road. This is to link one of our private trails to another. The second one is from where First Concession Road, north of Highway 3, meets Burleigh Side Road, south to Talbot Street, and then west on Talbot Street into Cortland for the purpose of visiting Vivian's Country Restaurant and Cortland Bakery. Vivian's support letter is also in your package. Back in 2013, I think some of the councilors that were present at that time, we had several letters of consent from a lot of businesses around Norfolk that would, be happy to have us visit their establishments, so I didn't redo all those again. Lastly, we would like Hillside Ave in Delhi to Old Mill Road where it meets the railway tracks. This would link one of our existing trails to another. Our club would offer to sponsor these permitted roads, meaning that at least once a year, doing a garbage pickup. Last year during our Halloween event, we cleaned up a lot of garbage along Old Mill Road, and we would like to keep doing that for the community. We have a $15 million third-party liability policy through OFATV with Norfolk County named on it. Our club is now financially sound, and we would require no funding or support from the county whatsoever. In conclusion, our successful proposal request to increase our legal road access would allow us to continue serving the residents and guests of Norfolk County with a safe, legal trail system to enjoy the recreation of ATV riding. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Ken. If you can just be there, there's probably some questions.
Sure.
Any questions for Mr. Person? Councillor Height?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman Columbus. To you, to Mr. Person. The attachment that you've given us here with Chatham-Kent's reference is basically allows all roads in their county. So
Yeah,
is there a reason why you're only looking for a select few roads?
Well, I wanted to add that just to show you what other counties were doing in the area, and I know that we're not quite there yet, maybe someday, but we've been, over the years, we've been slowly picking away at this to keep things under control and to, when you say, why aren't you asking for all the roads, I think that's a little too ambitious for Norfolk at this time. So we were treading forward slowly.
Okay.
So, but I did add that to your package just to kind of give you an idea of what other counties were doing.
Yeah, and obviously in my ward we have a lot of trails. I get this asked on a regular basis, and I'm not even sure of a municipality that hasn't passed it at this point. I know there was a big whirlwind when it first came out, and have you found any that are against it?
Yeah, there's a lot of, Oxford doesn't have it, Elgin, Essex County, there's a lot of places that do not allow it. It's more common up north, right? Where it just seems to be a little more accepted, a lot more crown land for one thing. We have a lot of private property here, so it's a little more difficult to link things together.
Okay, so you're not ready to go full blast, I guess, with all the roads at this time?
I don't believe we are at this time.
No? Okay, and so I guess maybe you could tell council about some of the economic benefits of the ATVs, because that's usually the calls I get. People are telling me these things are worth $10,000, $20,000. Gopher Dunes is a premier sports facility, and we're lucky enough to have them in Norfolk. Is that pretty much par for the course on these?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And all the local dealerships, like, Davidson, McKee's, Lockhart's. When we have our Halloween Madness event, every year, Lockhart's have come out and they've had like demo days where people can, try out quads. So yeah, we got all kinds of support from the dealers and things like that. And also, the businesses. I mean, I've stopped in Delhi Independent and talked to Matt about, because when people come to town to unload their quads or whatever, sure, they're going to stop for groceries, they're going to fuel up. Again, I didn't want to just mention one restaurant, but local restaurants and gas stations can, benefit from it. So
Yeah, and these are all licensed vehicles with insurance.
absolutely they are, yeah.
So what's the difference between them and snowmobiles?
I've asked that question a few times, but
Okay, other than
That's
you
not
drive
for
in
me
the
to-
snow faster on a snowmobile.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that.
Councillor Oliver?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks for your presentation. Ken, you mentioned that you did circulate copies of this letter to all of the property owners up and down the proposed expanded.
that's correct, yeah.
Routes?
Yes.
How many would that be? Do you have any idea how many
How many,
individual
how many did we
property
distribute?
owners?
Close to 100, but I don't have an exact
Okay.
amount.
And can you tell us, did you have any negative feedback? And if so, how many negative responses?
We had actually only 2 or 3 adjacent landowners who responded to me, and a couple of them were concerned that we would be driving like down this road and up and over their driveway and things like that, or across their front lawn. So I made it clear that our road access is the road access, the same as a motorcycle driving by your house or a truck. We're going to be on the road, not interfering with your private property. But we actually got more positive responses than we did negative. There's some people along that Cortland stretch that said, good, finally, now we know that we'll, if this gets passed, we'll be able to do this. So we haven't got much negative feedback at all.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Geis?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Mr. Pearson. I'm looking at the, where you talk about, one time you were using the railroad. Is that now something that you are no longer going to be using? Because from the looks of it, sorry, it's pretty well overgrown.
Oh, no, our rail trail is one of our main areas still, going from Old Mill Road up to Fernley Side Road. No, we maintain that pretty good. It's as good as it's always been.
Okay.
Now, you might be thinking about maybe the area beyond that.
That's what I'm thinking about.
Okay, and that is not been developed yet, mostly because we do have an agreement with CN, but they've had rail cars parked in there, and it hasn't been able to, we haven't been able to get by them, so we haven't really created a trail there at all. But it's mostly Old Mill Road to Fernley is our main trail along the rail.
I'm looking at it, I think I've got everything here. Are you adding anything to what you had before? But from the looks of it, you're going on the first concession road NTR, which is unmaintained, and that takes you to number 3 highway. Is that something that you're then going to go to the rail, or are you going on number 3 highway? I don't think they're going to like you too well.
No, there's no traveling on number 3 at all. It's just crossing the highway, which we had before. And yes, we're adding to what we had before. I believe Mark's going to have it in the bylaw, but we're taking away one of the streets that we had approved before, which was in Cortland, North Street from 59 Highway back to Talbot. And I think we're adding the ones that I mentioned today. But there's no riding along Highway 3 whatsoever. It's only the crossing of it.
Okay. Now, you talked about using the road rather than the, I guess, the shoulder, or how, is that what you're going to actually use, the road?
Yes, I believe that was the preference of the roads department. Even back when we talked to Bill Cridlin, when Bill used to be and he was pretty adamant that they don't want ATVs riding in the gravel or on the shoulder. If you're going to ride on the road, ride on the road. They don't want to create the dust or like heavier farm equipment when they ride on the edge of the road can cause cracking and stuff. So their ideas were, if you're going to ride on the road, please ride on the paved section.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anything further from Mr. Person? Yes, Councillor Oliver.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman, for letting me ask again. Ken, I should remember this from your previous presentations, but you referred, I think, in response to a question to the fact that the ATVs in the club are licensed. Does that mean they're licensed by the province and they're licensed to travel on roads, or is it just
they're not-
licensed by your club?
No, they're licensed. Like when you buy an ATV, you need to register it. You get a license plate. You have an ownership. And when you buy an OFATV pass, you need to be licensed, insured, 16 years of age to be able to ride on the roads, of course. And so that's what the license is when we say license.
The important thing for me, though, in the context of my question is you say there is a license plate attached to the vehicle.
Correct.
And then if I'm a property owner and somebody's trespassing and I can see that license, then I
Absolutely.
can track that vehicle even if the person won't stop for me.
Absolutely,
Yep.
you can, yeah.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, anything further? No? Okay, Ken? Thank you for educating council on the use of ATVs.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to ask for a mover and a seconder to receive the deputation of Mr. Ken Person. Mayor Luke moves, Councillor Geisen seconds, that the deputation of Ken Person be received. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Now we will go to page 43, and this is under Parks and Recreation Department. To my right, Mr. Schumacher, are you the person going to give this report?
Actually, this report is in conjunction with the deputation that we just had for the bylaw for regulation of operation of off-road vehicles. This is more of a housekeeping item here. Back in 2011, there was an original bylaw that came out setting times through the winter where fishermen would basically access the roads to get down to the water, get down to the ice. Then back in 2014, there was an addition added for the ATV club with the roads that they had talked about earlier. And then in 2015, there was another bylaw added which cleared up the actual terminology for what an ATV was, what an off-road vehicle was, which was put through the province and down, and we put it into a bylaw. So in May last year, in 2017, when the ATV club met with Mr. Boerkamp and Mr. Van Acker, they then come forward and wanted to add some more roads onto the bylaw. So we sat down with them. What we ended up doing was we added 6 roads in, and we deleted 2 of the current ones that they had in. And from there, we decided we would move forward and just for the ease of reference, request for a new bylaw and ask to have the 3 current bylaws repealed. And that's what we're here for tonight. I will accept any questions from council.
Questions to Mr. Schumacher? Yes, Councillor Height.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Mr. Shoemaker. In other municipalities that have approved it, do they basically take out urban centers? Where they just allow you to ride on a road?
Through your worship, Councillor, yes, they don't, in the urban centers, they don't allow it at all. It's all for the resident, or not in town at all. It's all out in the country. So, yeah, I don't think I've seen one that has allowed them to come in town, so.
Would your department have a problem if all the roads were opened up? I know it sure make this bylaw a lot easier, other than the urban centers, of course.
Actually, I'll pass that on to
County Manager, Ms. Robinson.
I'm actually going to defer this one to the CAO.
Thank you for that.
You sweat.
Chatham-Kent is the best example I know of in the province of Ontario of a municipality that's gone as far as is conceivably possible in allowing ATV usage on highways as defined by the HTA. They were the beneficiaries of multiple reports from their legal department that were carefully considered by their duly elected council before they ever took any action. And I would want to, in the strongest possible terms, suggest this council not consider making any changes of its own volition unless or until it receives some legal advice on the implications of so doing.
So then what I'm hearing is if I defer this for next week, we'll have all that legal advice? Because they already did it and you're from that area and you're just going to give us a copy, right? For free.
Well, neither our good lawyer or I actually volunteer our time to this fine corporation. But other than the not for free, we would undertake to provide you with legal opinion were you inclined to defer, but I would ask for more than just next week. We both have a large number of very big files on our desks right now, and we would need some more time than just a week, because for us that's only actually 3 days.
Okay, so I like that we could possibly move this ahead today because that's what the deputations asked. I'm wondering if I should possibly add an amendment that staff come back in a certain amount of time with a report on that? Maybe from Timmins? Would that be in order, Mr. Chair?
An amendment to this?
Yeah, I'll
staff
move this,
recommendation?
that we approve this.
I'm going to ask the clerk, deputy clerk here.
Through the chair, there's actually not a motion on the floor yet, so.
There's now.
Okay, so it wouldn't be an amendment, you could just draft whatever you'd like wording.
Okay, I would move this motion with an amendment that further that staff come back with a report giving more details with possible further roads being allowed. No timeline. I trust Mr. Cribbs from Timmins.
That's your recommendation. You've moved it. I need a seconder for that. Councillor Geisens has seconded it, so it is on the floor for discussion. Mayor Luke?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and certainly I will be supporting this recommendation. I want to say that, don't actions speak volumes? Here we have an organization that has not hurried along, have got a proven track record in the way of accidents, in the way of no complaints, and they're moving forward carefully, and they're doing what a responsible club would do. They're keeping the neighborhood in tune, they're giving back to the community, picking up garbage once, twice a year, whatever. So this is pretty impressive, what's taking place here, and I'm certainly supporting this additional road usage. They deserve it. They've proved themselves, and who's heard a complaint? So keep up the good work. Thank you.
Before I go to Councillor Oliver, I just want to make it clear, Councillor Height, for the clerk's benefit and our benefit, can you please repeat your additional amendment to that staff motion?
Sure, what do you have so far, Madam Clerk?
Through the chair, it was just to Councillor Height, just that last little bit. So staff be directed to present a report to council providing more details for road, where's that last little bit?
Road use or allowances for ATVs?
Okay, everybody understand that then? And now moving to Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of times you've referred to the last part as an amendment. Is it an amendment? Because if it's just part of the body of the motion, I can't support the motion. I think it's inappropriate at this time to be directing staff to investigate further road inclusions when the group that's here in front of us as a deputation has made no indication at this point that they want it. And the other thing that they've done that I think allows us all to support the original, the original recommendation, they did their homework with the neighbors. They informed neighbors of what was being proposed. Neighbors had a chance to say, yes, it's okay, or no, it's not okay. And very, very few said it's not okay. That gives me a comfort level of supporting this recommendation. But what this changed motion is doing is directing something that there's been no discussion with neighborhoods or people living up and down other roads. So I wish we could separate it, Mr. Chair, and have it as two separate motions, because if the way it is now, I can't support it, and yet I do support what these folks were asking for.
Okay, I'm going to go to Councillor Black next.
Well, I feel the same as Councillor Oliver on that. We've had a deputation. They came. They've asked us for something specific, and I have no problem giving that to them. But beyond that, I'm just going to be repeating what Councillor Oliver said. I'm not comfortable with the amendment because we haven't had any direction from the general community. We haven't had any indication from staff. Certainly, if the community is interested in this, let them come forward and let them do another deputation and suggest other roads, and then we have a reason to ask staff to investigate that. But just to open it right up, I think it's opening up a can of worms. We're going to bring a lot of heat down upon us by people that really aren't interested in having ATVs on the road in general.
Okay, this is actually the clerk informs me that this is a full recommendation motion. And that's where it stands right now because Councillor Height was the first one to put it on the floor in the form that it was. So I'm going to go to Councillor Height next.
I can separate that last section for voting, can I not, Mr. Chair?
Okay, so separate. That would be fine. You're making the original one still also then? Motion?
Yeah, oh yeah, we're going to pass what the
Okay.
deputations
Good
asked
enough.
for. I'm really asking for a staff report.
Right.
At a later date is what I'm asking in the second section.
Okay, well, we'll separate this and make it more clear.
Yep.
So then I'm going to Councillor Wells.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I would be unable to support the motion as I thought it was going to be presented to us as a package. That is what the deputation was asking for. I think I certainly support that. They came here, they've done their research, they've done everything correct, but all of a sudden to just add something else on that they have not asked for and may not even want just because we think it's the right thing, I don't think that is appropriate. So if I'm okay now, if the question is divided, I know how I'll vote.
Right, well, the first vote that you'll have will be on exactly what's printed on page 43. Right, the staff recommendation. Councillor Broughton.
I just wanted to make a comment that I have ATVs on my road all the time. I have no problem whatsoever with them. I don't know if it's a designated road, but I have no problem. I own an ATV and I use it for gardening, but you know, there's no problem. Most of these people are very reasonable, and I guess I don't care how the question is brought forward. If it's divided, fine. I support this idea of restricting on certain roads and that. As long as it's not in the urban areas, I'm going to support it. So I'll leave it at that.
Anything further? Councillor Height.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What I'm asking for specifically is a staff report to come back with ramifications and legal advice. I'm not asking to blow open every single road in Norfolk County, and I could see where urban councillors might not get the phone calls that rural councillors do, because Southwest Ontario, Norfolk County, call me constantly, 100 a year of phone calls at least I've had over this. They ride on the road anyway. Just like chickens. They have chickens. All right? I'm looking to clear this up. I know what the deputation's asked for. I receive a lot of calls, as I'm sure the other West rep over here has as well. I'm just looking for some staff report on some advice on how we go about doing it. Like I said, it's happening. These are legal, responsible drivers, driving thousands of dollars worth of equipment down the road, just like you would a car. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, the recommendation, moved by Councillor Height, seconded by Councillor Geistens, that report CS 18-27 bylaw revisions to regulate the operation of off-road vehicles on municipal highways be received, and that council approve bylaw 2018-XX. What fills in there? Okay, to regulate the operation of off-road vehicles in municipal highways, and further that bylaw 2011-201, bylaw 2014-69, and bylaw 2015-84 be repealed. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Those opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Persons. Okay, and I'm going to ask the clerk, the deputy clerk, to read the other part. I need a mover and a seconder for that. Councillor Height, you move it. Councillor Geisens, do you second that? Okay, the deputy clerk can read that.
Through the chair, so this is how the question was separated then. The last part is that staff be directed to present a report to council providing additional detail on ramifications and legal advice pertaining to road use and allowance for ATVs.
Is that fine? Questions, discussion? Councillor Oliver.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the clear wording, and I appreciate what my colleague is trying to do. But again, I think we're just taking the wrong approach here. What I think has been so good about what we've done previously and tonight is we've got an organized group that are responsible drivers, licensed drivers of these vehicles, who have stepped up to the plate and said, these are areas we would like access to. To me, and my ward is just as rural as Councillor Height's ward is, I think we need to encourage the users to take the initiative. So I guess I just don't see the merit in directing staff to spend time to develop reports until we have requests from other groups, or this group, to expand their range further than what it is.
I would too think that we'd like to have some comments by the OPP is another thing to add. Okay, yes, Councillor Black.
I'd like to thank Councillor Oliver for saying what was on my mind.
Okay. Councillor Broughton.
Unless I'm missing something here, all we're asking for is a report on, and we may leave it the way it is. Are we, what's wrong with that? We've asked for reports on other things that go beyond the scope of some of the bylaws we pass. And again, there's all kinds of people. There's people in the business to sell these vehicles throughout Norfolk County, and maybe it would open it up more for sales and tourism and all those kind of things. So I don't see a problem with writing a report on it. It's not hurting a thing.
Okay, Councillor Wells.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I would have no problem with a report if the people who are going to use this service asked us to make more available riding spaces. They have not. They come in, they've asked for one section of Norfolk County. So if other people out there are willing to do the same thing and lead a well-organized presentation to council saying this is what we'd like, and these are the roads we'd like to use, then I think that would be the way to go, and not us initiate it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mayor Luke.
Well, I'm going to support this motion, and I don't feel like I'm initiating allowing any expansion whatsoever beyond what our deputation asked for, and got. I especially would be interested in learning some of what our CAO has said about Chatham-Kent. So I think the knowledge we will get in this report, I'm not going to say I'm going to support this because I want to open up all our rural roads or any of them at this point. So, but I don't have a problem getting a report on some of the, if I can say, the goods and bads of ATVs on public roads. I would look forward to that information, but I'm not initiating at this point, even when I read the report that's brought forward, if this motion is passed, I'm not initiating anything at this time. And I don't know if we'll ever have another request. If we don't, I'm not looking at opening any roads. Thank you.
Okay. Anything further? You've all heard the motion is read by the Deputy Clerk. Those in favor? Those opposed? That is carried. Thank you. 3 opposed. Okay. We'll now move to page 67. This is the Simcoe and Delhi BIA operating budgets. And before I do that, I've neglected to ask if Councillor Oliver had any conflict of interest to declare.
No, Mr. Chairman. Again, I apologize for having been late for the 2 o'clock session, but I have no conflicts.
Okay, thank you very much. So noted. And this report will be provided by Sue Bugger. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a simple report. The purpose to obtain council's approval of the Simcoe and Delhi Business Improvement Area 2018 operating budgets. Once the approval is obtained, a bylaw will be presented next week, and commercial and industrial properties within the BIA areas will be levied a special charge through the final tax billing. The Simcoe BIA has approved $203,800 to be raised from its members. The Delhi BIA has approved $27,660 to be raised from its members. Specific questions about the allocation of the budget should be directed to the individual BIA boards. However, if there are any questions about the report, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions with respect to the two budgets? No? Yes, Councilor Brown.
As your representative on the Simcoe BIA, I have some comments about the annual meeting I'd like to make, if I may.
Okay, sure, that would be in order.
The annual meeting was last Wednesday night, and I did attend, and a couple of things that came up during the meeting, and I said I'd mention these. Number one is there's been and perhaps Mr. Baird can help me with this, but there's been some concern about the garbage pickup in the containers in the downtown, and I think Mr. McGimpsey is working with you on that. Am I correct?
Through the chair, that is correct, Councillor Columbus. There are a number of, a whole bunch of new waste receptacles going out in the downtown that will be larger capacity and will help mitigate the upstairs household waste from filling up the normal downtown refuse that would accumulate in those. They should be, they're on order and they should be deployed in the very near future. That should help the situation.
Okay. The other thing that was mentioned, and this is something in terms of our revitalization possible in the downtown, and that is one of the members spoke to me regarding some form of uniform window covering in the upper levels of all the stores downtown. And if you look at, it's no secret, the Norfolk Hotel, some of the residential areas, they have flags, they have, you name it, hanging in their windows. And one of the things he wondered is is it possible to pass a bylaw with uniform, I know some of the landlords have strict policies on what they can put in those windows. And it makes it a little more uniform and perhaps, what's the word, appealing to the public when they drive down the street and see some of these flags and things hanging. Can we pass a bylaw to that effect? Or look at it? Or
Mr. CAO?
If Norfolk County Council has some interest in decorating on property that we own, we can do more or less anything we like, from hanging baskets off our lamp poles to flags, banners, etc. But we do not have the capacity to legislate to force people to communicate, or you actually have a charter right that, amongst other things, allows you to silence and non-participation. So we do not have that capacity.
well, if I may, Mr. Chairman, you'll notice in our upcoming reports here about the community improvement grants, and maybe it's something we could encourage through that program. I don't know. I'm just saying that if you drive down Norfolk Street and look above the first floor, it's a mess with apartments, drive by that Norfolk Hotel. I think they got cardboard for windows in some of that places there. But all I'm saying is maybe it's something we can look at through the community improvement program. I would hope, we're giving out, I see here, we're going to start and give out grants, not just a loan, and maybe that's an incentive we would ask for. But the last thing I'd like to mention about the annual meeting is that one of the things that our BIA is, we have a loan from the county, I guess, that's been outstanding, and I think the budget they presented is fair, and with the combination now with the chamber, I think it's a fair budget, and hopefully in the future we'll be able to pay off that loan a little quicker. So that's the long-range hope. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Councilor Black.
I suppose this should be a question to the BIA itself, but if you look at the annual general meeting, it says 2017, and I think we just had the meeting, so it was this year. So the 2018, I don't know if we should correct it ourselves or bring that to their attention.
I don't know. Does that reflect the?
I don't know.
Is that the 17th, the 2017 meeting, or is it 2018 meeting?
Well, I just had the meeting, so it would be the 2018 annual general meeting. So,
Well, maybe it should be as amended, is that?
I don't know. It's their document, so I guess just leave it alone.
Yes, Doug, sorry, Councilor Brown.
It is the 17th annual meeting. It just so happens it's very late because of certain problems they've had, so, thank you.
Okay. Mayor Luke.
Well, it is confusing when it says 2017 annual, but the date of the meeting is Wednesday, May 30th, 2018.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to worry about that. They can correct that if there's a problem. Have you got a motion on the budget?
No, I don't.
Well, Mr. Chair, I don't have any problem with what they're submitting here again for their budgets. I'd like to move the recommendation.
You're moving it. I need a seconder. Councilor Black? Okay, and I'll read the recommendation. That report FS 1819, read 2018 Simcoe and Delhi BIA operating budgets be received, and that the Simcoe and Delhi Business Improvement Area 2018 operating budgets be approved as submitted, and further that staff prepare the bylaw to approve the special BIA levy to all rateable properties within the Simcoe and Delhi BIAs. Is there any further discussion? Those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And now we'll move to page 83. And this report is being delivered by Shelley Darlington.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. During the emergency gas well period and subsequent monitoring, a single source supply was identified. The purpose of this report is to seek approval from Council for the standardization of the Draeger brand gas monitoring equipment and accessories currently used by Norfolk County Fire Department. The request is in accordance with Section 4.8.4 of the county's purchasing policy for single source supply. Although Draeger units will be specified in future bidding opportunities, there are multiple vendors that sell these units, and therefore competitive bids will still be obtained. The standardization request is for an initial 5-year term, at which point staff will complete some further market analysis to ensure equipment and accessories are continuing to meet the needs from an operational perspective. The fire department currently has 22 handheld units, associated calibration equipment, and readers, and all fire staff have been trained on the operation of this specifically branded equipment. Staff are recommending approval of the standardization request, and I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Okay. Questions to Ms. Darlington? Don't see any questions. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Oliver moves. Seconder? Councillor Height is the seconder. So, I will read the recommendation that staff report ECS 18-18, standardization of hydrogen sulfide monitoring equipment, be received as information, and that council authorizes the use of Section 484, single source supply for the standardization of the Dredger brand of gas monitoring equipment and accessories during future procurement processes for a period of 5 years. And any further discussion on this? Those in favor? That is carried unanimously. And now we'll go to page 87. And this will be delivered by Brent Wallace, Director of Information Technology. Welcome, Brent. And the floor is yours with respect to this upgrade to building and bylaw and development engineering planning software system.
Through the chair. The Development Culture Services Division relies on a software product entitled CityView for building inspections, planning applications, and bylaw enforcement. CityView was acquired as part of the Haldeman-Norfolk transition process and has been used by Norfolk County since 2001. Over the years, the current system has gone through a number of updates and has become a reliable product that management staff use for tracking and reporting purposes. The current CityView system is a Windows-based system that requires software to be downloaded to the desktop and therefore can be a little bit more onerous for IT to manage, support, and update. In 2017, CityView released a completely web-enabled solution, that CityView Workspace, which has a number of benefits including improved user interface for easier access, improved integration, and a Norfolk County's GIS system, as well as easier access to the staff in the field. This upgrade also includes Norfolk County's electronic document record system entitled FileHold that will offer improved records management and electronic documents management. The cost of the upgrade for CityView Workspace is estimated at $59,000, not including HST, which is within the budgeted cost of $70,000 included in the 2018 capital budget. Once upgraded, Norfolk County staff could look at the rollout of web portal allowing for online services offered to the community for building, bylaw, and planning. Being that City View is owned and operated by Harris Computer Systems and cannot be purchased or maintained by any other company, this report is required for staff to request an exemption to the quotation and tendering procedures for goods and services outlined in Norfolk County Policy ECS 02 permitting a single source purchase. Please let me know if you have any questions.